Yes, everybody, welcome back to the channel. Hope everybody is doing well. It is freaking boiling once again, as it seems to be nowadays. Not that I hate the heat, because I don't. I kind of like the heat, but not turning my room and essentially recording studio into a freaking oven. I'm not enjoying that. I'm not enjoying that whatsoever. But we are back, and we are doing a little video, basically just going through the line of information that's been released regarding the dropped value of Manchester United Football Club, but also a damning, uh, a damning statement from Kieran Maguire, who has shown us, has highlighted a quite a damning fact here, a very very damning fact, and this is massively concerning. It would be massively concerning for any club in the world to see this. Any club in the world, in any situation, to see this would be damning. Very, very damning. Before we get into anything, make sure that people are liking the video, subscribing if you haven't done so already. Really, really appreciate all the love and support that we're getting on this channel. We are 2 subs away. That's 4, but you get what I'm trying to say here. There's 2 subs left. 2 subs left to get us to 100. 2 subs left. So close yet so far, it feels like. But I believe we can get there. And can we do it with this video? Can we do it? Can we get 2 new subscribers in the house, get us to 100 subs? And then what might happen is that my channel will decline, much like the valuation of Manchester United, and I'll end up with like 50 subs the following day. Um, Got to hit them highs before you feel them lows. But let's not waste any more time. Let's get into things. So, as we know, I stated it or I mentioned it on a previous stream last night. Do make sure to go check that out. Um, Basically, talking about all different things United and just a bit of a rant session, with the sort of bouncing back between stream and chat, as we do, all good stuff. But in that show, it came out that Manchester United's public shares saw its lowest drop ever. Lowest drop ever since the public shares were listed on the New York Stock Exchange in 2011. The lowest drop yet. Or I say lowest drop, biggest decline. Biggest decline. So it basically, and I remember seeing this, I was curious about it several days ago. I was like, so what's going on with the United share price then? Let's have a little look. So it's about $23.20 something, right? So we're thinking, okay, so it's roughly about where it's been for a little while now. And news came out fairly similarly, a similar time, that stated, well, the Glazers want to take United off the market, which I called BS on the story almost instantly because I said financially it wouldn't make any sense because they are backed into a corner. Long term, there are monetary problems for the Glazers. There are monetary problems for the club. So it wouldn't make any sense to take Man United off the market if they hadn't secured the near to long term futures financially for the club. Forget like successes or trophy aspirations, anything at all. Like we could end up being relegated club, right? Nobody really cares about that. No one cares about that from the Glazers' perspective. But the money side was a big concerning point. And when you see something like that, where it drops from $23.20 something down to $18.20 something, like that's a 15% decrease, I believe, on valuation. It wiped off over £550 million off of the valuation of Manchester United Football Club. £550 million disappeared with one story release. Now, I don't know what the ins and outs are with the public shares exchange. What people are doing with the shares, what they're buying, what they're selling, what they're buying for, and what they're selling for. We've seen with the Qatari or pro-Qatari news that the share price has increased. A lot of people started trading, and people were saying, well, usually that happens in anticipation for something big happening. Well, again, story that says the opposite. Big share price drop. Basically, everybody stops buying shares. Everybody stopped buying shares. It's lost interest. Lost all interest. Speaking of interest here, Kieran Maguire's come out today and has given us a damning insight to the finances of Manchester United. How's this? It's debt related. MUFC have paid £900 million in interest to the banks following the creation of debt since the takeover of the club. Now, Glazers don't really pay off debts, right? As we know, when the Glazers bought the club, they bought it on borrowed cash. Borrowed cash, the Glazers took the debts that they owed and stuck it on the responsibility of the club to pay it off, right? So the club has been anchored with a huge amount of debt, massive amount of debt, probably some of the biggest debt of any clubs in the world. And the Glazers basically said, well, look, any and all debt that continues on with that, the club have got to pay it off. And what I'm believing with what I'm reading here, what I'm taking from this, is that Manchester United Football Club have paid £900 million, right, to service debts or to surface off debt payments since like 2005 when the Glazers took over, when the debt was created. That's mental. That is ridiculous. £900 million to keep trouble off of our back. But even that, the debt's still there. There is debt still there, and it's massive debt. That is crazy. Can you imagine any other clubs out there? If you had debts that sort of racked up to near £1 billion, but your club was paying or trying to pay off that amount of money to service interest to banks. Mental. Absolutely mental. And everybody's reaction to this is pretty much exactly the same. Pretty much exactly the same. It's like a club can't be sustainable with this, right? It can't be. Surely it can't be sustainable having that much money going towards paying off debts, but still having a massive amount of debt after these payments. I mean, it's mental. The Glazer family are what I call debt collectors. And usually you think, why would you call them debt collectors? Why would you call them debt collectors? Debt collectors are the guys that go around collecting debt, right? They go to the public and they say, look, you've got to pay off your debts. I'm here to collect it. What I mean by debt collectors is Joel and Avram love to go. It's like going on a quest, gathering achievements and looting everything. They're taking loots and all of this, and that's like, oh yeah, we're collecting the debt, we're letting it rack up, we're increasing the amount of money that we owe to people. But it's crazy. I mean, they've got debts in practically every single sector of their business. of their business space, their business sphere, if you want to call it that. They owe debts practically everywhere. But the United debts that they created, they stuck it on the club. And the club has been left to pay it off ever since. And they've still not finished. They've still not paid it all off. They've still got loads and loads of debt to go. Which is why Qatar is so important. A Qatar takeover would be so important. Just simply because it's the only bid that looks to buy out the whole club for starters, buy out the whole club, but pay off the debts directly. Any debt that's there, gone, paid in full, and no more troubles after that. I mean, whether people want to say, "Oh, this debt holds us back," it's a lot of people will say, "Well, look, this, we're broke. If this is how much money we're giving away, I mean, imagine that £900 million could have been spent on other areas of the club. Could have been, but we're not there because the Glazers have put that much debt on the club. It's increased over time, and the club have since 2005." With their own accounts have had to be paying off the debts of their owners, the debts of its ownership. That's painful to acknowledge. Absolutely painful. And with the whole thing of the way that this stock pricing, share pricing is going, like if things just continue to get worse financially for Manchester United, it only means troubles. I mean, we've had a summer where everyone's been pushing this narrative that United haven't got any money. Oh, we've got to sell to buy. FFP have tied us down. We've got all of these problems. We can't spend. We can't compete. We can't do anything. Our hands are tied. I mean, I'd like to think that, well, United, you got way more money than you're pretending that you actually have. And let's be fair, they do. They make way more money than they're spending. I say way more money. I mean, a fair significant amount, about probably roughly about 100 million's difference, I reckon, from the total club's revenue per year from various aspects. So we got that happening. I see something like this, £900 million worth of debt payments, interests to the banks, and it's just like a part of me starts to almost question the whole sell to buy or we haven't got any money story. I start to question, because I called it BS, right? I start to question, but what if it isn't BS? What if there is actually seriously a severe lack of money because it keeps disappearing out of the accounts to go pay off interests to people who our ownership owes money to, but we're paying off their dues? Maybe that's why the Glazers don't want to let us go, because of all the debts that they've got outstanding. Perhaps United can pay off some of those debts for them so they don't have to spend a dime. They don't got to spend a dime. All of their assets pay it off for them, right? Maybe that's a motivating factor. It most likely isn't. But I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, how many other clubs in the world do you see this situation playing out at in the world? How many clubs do you see an owner buy a club on debt and then continue to grow that debt over time, but say, well, we're not going to pay it off? The club is. Like, we put you into trouble, right? We're telling the world we've stuck you in boiling water. We did that. We can get you out, but we're not going to. Make sure that you don't ever ask us to get you out of trouble in a situation that we put you in. That's what the Glazers have done to United. to put it in a somewhat simple, understandable, uh, as understandable way, right? So we've been put in to boiling water. You're in there because of us, but you want to get out of there, you got to do so yourself. But everything else you want to do, you can't do because guess what? You got to pay all of that money that you could and should be using to betterment of the club, the furtherment of the club, to paying off people that we owe money to. Absolutely batshit crazy. Batshit crazy. Let me know your thoughts and your feelings about this club situation with the debts, the interest payments, how much money we're spending to keep trouble out of our out of our I mean what do we even call it? Because I mean we can't say it's trouble away from a club. We're not really a club. We're not run by a club. Technically, we're a banking firm because we're run by bankers. Let's be real. So we're paying that much money to keep ourselves out of trouble. But the people who should be getting the blame or who are responsible for the troubles or any troubles in this matter are the ownership, but they've already gone and washed the blood off their hands and they've framed us as the killer. We're the killers, guys. We are the killer, right? The real murderers, the real killers, they got away, but the framed ones are the ones that remain. And we're in that boat. We are in that boat. But yeah, let me know your thoughts and your feelings on this situation below. Even if you're a rival fan, I mean, this must be crazy to see that a club can be so piss poorly run, but the finances of said club be handled so poorly as well. If we are a lesser club with less money, lower down in the footballing pyramid, we are walking into a Bury Town, we are walking into a Bolton, we are walking into potential liquidation if we have less money. If we are a smaller club, we'd be walking into liquidation, right? Because it's Man United and the amount of revenue we generate, we can float. Just. But now, money's drying up a little bit. Interest is going away a little bit. So the money we were floating on is getting less and less and less and less. So we're actually going to start sinking now. That's the problem. That's what we're concerned about. We need to start spending on this club to better the club, right? And not even just about squad matters now. This is about infrastructure, club infrastructure, club assets. We need to spend on those. The Glazers don't want to spend. They want outside investment for it. No outside investment is coming. There we go. So we can rule that off the table. So the club needs money put into it. That's not happening. So the club's going to break down. I mean, imagine that if building inspectors come around and see that Old Trafford is unsuitable and is unsafe for usage, Manchester United could get kicked out. Could get kicked out if we haven't got kicked out of Old Trafford, can't use it, forbidden from using it until proper building work gets done to it. We'd probably have to play home games at a borrowed stadium. Imagine that. I mean, it sounds crazy, really sounds crazy, but if we were to play around with foresight a little bit, who knows? We could go down that path. It wouldn't be this year, next year, or the year after, but very, very soon. Very, very soon. All it takes is someone to go in there and say, well, actually, that's really unsafe. You're putting so many people at risk. I'm gonna have to close this place down because it's not safe. It's not safe for people to be here. You cannot open this arena, this venue for usage. You can't do that. because it doesn't pass safety requirements. And not only that, but what about the Premier League? What would they do? What would the FA do? They might punish United even more for not having a stadium fit and proper for use. Would that mean more fines? Would we have to pay off more fines? Would we be gaining even more debt? There's so many possibilities that really could take us down the rockiest road any club has ever been on at this level in the history of the sport. We could be something, a case that world football has never seen before, on a magnitude, on a scale that's never been witnessed before. This could happen. This could, though it might not be very likely or even somewhat likely. Even if it's not that, the fact is that the percentage possibility is not zero. It could happen. And we are heading towards a direction where this likelihood becomes gradually it's gradually growing, right? It's getting more probable as time goes on with us heading that direction. It grows more probable. And that's, to me, we need a desperate resolution to this sale process. Fast, very, very fast. And the club needs to be sold. Like, the club needs it. Fuck the fans, fuck what the fans think. The club needs it, right? We put the club before anything else, the club itself. The club needs to be sold to stay out of trouble. It needs to be. If you want to see Manchester United for decades and decades and decades to come, it has to be sold. If not, we could have a decade left. It could be a couple decades left, 3, 4 decades. But Manchester United would eventually die. It will close its doors. Manchester United would have the history books completely rendered obsolete. It could. But let me know your thoughts and your feelings in the comments section below. What you make of these crazy financial situations and the direction in which the finances of Manchester United are heading, with it desperately needing financial saving. It needs to be saved financially, and in many, many, many other areas it needs saving as well. So we're in the shit, people. But let me know your thoughts and feelings in the comment section below. Make sure that you are liking the video and subscribing. Big ups to everybody. Thank you very, very much for watching. And we'll see you again very, very soon. Goodbye for now.